my relationship with Shah Rukh is terrific. I think he's been one of the warmest people I've ever met for a person of his caliber and for the amount he's achieved as an outsider from an industry. Just coming in, the kind of warmth that affection he gives, terrific. You need to be able to stand up and have a conversation. Sometimes a hard conversation. It's just like leadership is a lot like friendship as well. You try and keep taking it, but at a stage you need to sit down and have a conversation to iron things out so that you can move forward. Definitely win another IPL. I think that is one thing that I definitely want to do. I mean, that's the one thing that I can think of straight away. I would love to see India win another T20 World Cup. I would love to be part of a T20 World Cup that India can win. I think that's something that's really special.
Here's someone who started very, very early as far as his international cricket career is concerned. Started at the age of 19, made his debut at Lord's. And then, of course, he had his own set of setbacks, so to say. He's had plenty of comebacks. He's matured as an individual, as a player, fulfilled different roles. Now he's the leader of Kolkata Knight Riders. Thank you so much, Dinesh Karthik, for taking your time out and speaking to me. Hope things are all right at this point in time. And therefore, when you look back at everything that started, say, about 16 years back, how do you look back at things, really?
First of all, thanks, RK, for having me. I think really happy to be here and obviously share a little bit of my views and the experiences that I've had in my career so far. Yeah, when I look back, first of all, 16 feels a big number because I think 16 years is a long time, and to have gone through that phase, trying to be a sportsman, trying to be a cricketer, I think is surreal at times to think of. But overall, the experience has been fantastic. If I'm sitting here today talking and I'm comfortable with everything that's happening around me, I think a lot of credit should go to the sport and the way it's treated me.
Yeah, when you go back in time, do you still remember that day when you had when you got your debut? How was it? Is it still fresh in your memory?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think I was in Zimbabwe and with the India A team, and then from there we got selected. Myself and Rohan Gavaskar flew in from there, and went and joined the Indian team for a couple of series, which was very interesting. We had the Champions Trophy, then we had a small series in Holland, and we had the Nat Trophy. So to be a part of those three series was special, and some real special times there.
Yeah. Do you remember the exact moment as to when you were told that you'll be actually playing, or you just kind of guessed it that you will be a part of it?
No, I didn't guess it. I think we were playing a match actually, and Sandeep Patil was our coach. He called me and said, "You and Rohan Gavaskar have been selected, and after this match, you have to go." And obviously, I was very happy, and to go and join the Indian team is a special feeling, and I was obviously elated and over the top that day.
And of course, I think everybody remembers that acrobatic moment, isn't it? Michael Vaughan was doing pretty all right at that point in time.
Yes, that was a good game. I think it was one of those low-scoring games. The wicket was pretty hard to bat on, and we got about 200 odd, and they were. Michael Vaughan was batting really well that day, and he could have easily taken the team to victory, but and then that stumping happened, which happened to be my first victim in international cricket, and obviously ended up being a very photo-worthy moment. Also, I remember the photographer who did click that photo said he got the award for the best photograph of that year with that photo. So so obviously the image stays in the minds of people, and that's something that they relate to about me.
Is that framed at some corner of your house at all? That particular image?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, awesome. Okay. But I mean, you obviously had that particular moment when you made your debut fairly young. You had a few competitors at that point in time. I think Deepdas Gupta was around. Rahul Dravid was keeping, obviously. You had Ajay Ratra in the mix. Parthiv Patel had, of course, made his debut as well. So what was your mindset going into such a competitive environment? I know you were just, 19 at that point in time?
Yeah, I mean, you're so young, you're not thinking too much about competition. At the same time, I think Deep was coming towards the end of his career. Ajay Ratra had, kind of come to his end of his career. And then, obviously, you had Rahul Dravid, who was, done with his share of wicket keeping. And I think it was taking a toll on his, taking a toll on him physically as well. And then, obviously, there was myself, Parthiv, and Dhoni to follow. And, we always had this tussle. And obviously, Dhoni took off from there, and me and Parthiv kept fighting for a spot here and there whenever we got an opportunity, and found ways to be part of the team.
Interesting that you mentioned about Mahendra Singh Dhoni, because he had just about started, or he was about doing very well in the domestic scheme of things, and then he established himself in the shorter formats, and then of course in the longer formats. How did you look at that particular competition with respect to Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Dinesh?
I think he handled pressure very well. I think he was was a pretty unique human being in the sense that he has his own way of doing things. Even the A series that he was there, when I got selected, he was part of the team as well. We had traveled together, and he had his own way of doing things. He was coming from Bihar, Bihar was the state at that point of time. He had done well for the state, and I think it was Dilip Vensarkar and them who had spotted him as a talent, and then he had his own way of doing things, a little unique in batting and keeping, but he was very strong about his technique, so to say, and very bullish about how he went about his cricket. And he carved a niche for himself in the forthcoming years.
As a young Dinesh Karthik at that point in time, how much did it play in your mind, and how did you work towards that?
Oh, obviously, initially it's a little hard to know that, oh, shit, you've lost your place in the team, but somebody's come and he's doing well. So the next question to me was, how do I get back in the team? So, I found ways of trying to be an opener, trying to be a middle order batsman at times. So, juggling hats to make sure, I was part of the team as well. And I ended up doing that pretty convincingly because, whenever I got a chance to bat up the order, I used to bat. So I came back to my state, and, I had an opportunity to probably open the innings, I would do it. And do these kind of things to, find ways to, make a comeback into that elusive Indian team and do well for them.
Yeah, sometimes were you also a tad harsh on yourself, Dinesh? Because I did read somewhere, I've known you for a while. Every professional sportsman does look at his or her own performances very, very seriously. But were you perhaps your harshest critics? And at some level, when you look back, maybe could you have been a tad easy on yourself, maybe? Relaxed in that sense?
I think so. Definitely. I think, I invested a lot of energy, sometimes negatively too, being very hard on myself. I don't think it was that necessary. I think, when I look back at my whole career, that's one of the things I would have changed. My feelings and my feelings oscillated a lot towards how my performances were. And I think that's something you have to be able to detach from how you are as a person to what you do on the field. If you're able to detach both, then I think you can definitely have a very successful crack at how well you want to do in life. If you equate both, then a lot of times you'll be spilling over on both sides, and it'll kind of eat into each other's eat into so-called your personal space and your professional space.
I've had this conversation about you to Abhishek Nayar on more occasions than one. Was it really in Bombay, pretty much locked by yourself in the toughest of conditions? Is that what the regimen was all about?
That's how it started, because he kind of got the feeling that I'm one of those second generation kids who got things too easy, and I was just very relaxed, and I had a very luxurious life back home in Chennai, which kind of is true, because obviously I've been lucky enough to have a house and have a lot of comfort that's associated with it. So when I went there, he put me through some grueling things, which obviously was far too out of my comfort zone, and then I did that for a period of time, and then obviously we moved on from that, and he kept challenging me in various ways. I think that's one of the skills of a coach, to constantly keep pushing your students, is to keep challenging them in various ways. And I think he did that, and that helped me eventually to grow as a person and as a cricketer.
How and why Abhishek Nayar at that point in time, if I may ask?
I've always believed that the least talented ones are always the most knowledgeable ones, because they've tried a lot in their career. A lot of the multi-skilled people and very, very highly talented people, very highly talented sportsmen in any field for that matter, for them things come a lot more easily when they do a certain skill compared to the ones who are less talented. A less talented one will always try a lot, like a trial and error will be a daily part of his life, and so they have answers to a lot of questions in a nicer way. What would happen if you do this? What will happen if you do that? They have answers to that in a much more clear way. Whereas for a most talented person, it'll be like, it's so easy, why don't you do this? That will be the kind of conversation they have. So, Abhishek was clearly not the most talented cricketer going around, but somebody who optimized his talent. Whatever you could do with his batting and his bowling, I think he optimized it. Even, in fact, went one above optimization. To have played for India with that kind of batting skills and bowling skills is not that easy. Not many people can do it. So I believe that he had put himself through a lot of ordeals that not many other cricketers would have done, be it, physically, be it mentally, or even be it, skillfully and tactically as well. So I thought he learned a lot through his own career, because there were so many mistakes that he had done, so many experiences that he had, gone through just by doing this trial and error method. So he would cancel out a lot of things. When I say, do you think I should do this? He's like, no, don't do this. This won't suit you. Should I do that? I think this is much better. Try it. So he had a lot of conviction in the way he did, because he'd done a lot of things in his career, and that's why I chose him.
And in terms of mentally, how did that improve things for you personally? Because I mean, there are two aspects, right? I mean, one is the technical part of it. I know at some point in time you also did go to Praveen Amre, to work on a one-to-one basis. I think you were one of the very first to go on a one-on-one coaching, if I may want to call it that. So, how did these affect the technique and therefore improved your batting from the technique point of view, and of course from the mental point of view?
I've always been somebody who's run after knowledge in terms of anything. I think knowledge I feel is a massive strength to have in life. But like they say, knowledge is power. Even in cricket, I felt that I wanted to gain knowledge, and obviously knowledge comes from people who have learned more, who have experienced more. Either you can read it from books, obviously visually also you can learn, or there are people if you want to use the term gurujis, who people gurus who can teach you because they have learned it and they've mastered the art, or they've gone through whatever they've gone through as experiences. So I've always been to coaches, and Praveen Amre sir also was one of them where I went to for technical help, and he did help me through that period, and he was very good at that as well. So I've never been one to shy away from trying or going out of my comfort zone. Anything for a 1% improvement is what I've always been after, irrespective. And I've always believed that whatever money I've earned, if I need to invest it back on myself, that's one of the most important investments for me to grow as a cricketer. So I've never been shy of spending money on myself, traveling, meeting various coaches, obviously having a lot of one-on-one sessions to do those kind of things, and obviously find out if that person suits me and probably could have the answers that I'm looking for. So I've always been somebody who tries those kind of things.
Let's move on to probably one of the more important phases of your career, which is essentially the Indian Premier League. You've been with a variety of teams. You've been a part of auctions when people have put in tremendous amount of faith and therefore money in you being a part of that side. What's the kind of pressure that goes around an IPL? First, let's talk about you as a batsman and you as a keeper, of course, with a variety of teams before moving to KKR particularly.
I think, obviously, inadvertently, almost every 3 years, you need to, more often than not, you could move on to another team unless and until you're one of the lucky ones to be retained among the 3 or 4 players. So that, obviously, when you play for about 13, 14 years, you end up going to a few teams. And I was one of those guys who's gone to a few teams. And I'm really happy with where I've landed up now. I think come to a very, probably one of the most balanced and, loving franchisees, so to say. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with KKR. Easily the best franchisee I've played for in terms of ownership and, the way they have obviously taken care of all the players, just not me, all the players. Obviously one thing that goes with being with other teams is you see how owners are and how they treat players, how do they react to wins and losses. And over a period of time, I've realized that definitely KKR is the best when it comes to handling of players, handling of wins and losses, and overall camaraderie and the relationship they tend to have through the year, irrespective of whether IPL is going on or not, which is something I value a lot as well. So, I'm happy I've ended up here. Answering to your second question in terms of money, I think, obviously, when you get paid top dollar, they want you to be the difference in creating, in taking the team to playoffs or probably, taking the team to the title. And fair enough. I think that is the beauty of IPL, and that is the beauty of you earning money. So when you're earning money, that what that means is there is at least one other team which almost believes that you're worth that money. Only if 2 people bid can you get picked up for that price. So there's another team that believes in you. So I think you can draw a lot of confidence from that, saying yes, there are at least 2 teams who believe that I'm worth this kind of money. Now, as soon as the auction is over, people start talking about the performances that need to be associated for you to be value of that money. Now, when that comes, with that comes pressure, because that's where you getting picked up till the date you're picked up at the auction is your happy spot, and after that the pressure starts. Now, like everything else in life, with pressure comes greatness, so you need to know to deal with it. I think a lot of people who have obviously gone for a lot of money have got caught in the so-called rut of trying to be of value to that money. I think what you need to be aware of as a player is whether you get X or whether you get Y amount, your process needs to be the same. It's their expectations which have increased. I think if you stick to your process and you stick to what you know to do and try and consistently do that, I think that's about how much you can do. If you get into the mindset of trying to please people or trying to perform that much more because you've got that much more money, then I think that's a very hard one.
You also spoke about the management. I think that's also a very important part of the management, as you mentioned, to make the players feel pretty much at home. And therefore would want to ask you about the relationship that you enjoy with Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, he's technically the owner. And of course, Mr. Venky Mysore as well. Just take us through that particular relationship at KKR for you.
I think, I mean, I won't even be shy to say that. I think they've been the nicest owners that I've had. I mean, because it comes from me, it might sound a lot more biased, but I genuinely believe that the times that I've spent in KKR has been the best, and I can say that confidently because a lot of the players who played for KKR, literally have their tattoos done to their hearts and want to be part of KKR. Take a Brendan McCullum, take most people, Morgan, Pat Cummins, they're all so happy to be in KKR because of the experience they've had in playing for the team, which amounts a lot. Because I think only when you want to come back and play for the franchise, that extra effort that you need to give when push comes to shove will come out. And a lot of it is driven by obviously Shah Rukh Khan and Venky Mysore because they're at the pivotal head, they're at the top of the pyramid, and they drive us down. So when you have wonderful people like that, I think it makes playing the sport easy, trying to represent the franchise a lot easier. But with a lot of love and affection also, comes a different sort of pressure where you want to do stuff for them. You want to, show that, you're obviously repaying the amount of faith they have in you as well. So it's a very positive thing. And, my relationship with Shah Rukh is terrific. I think he's been one of the warmest people I've ever met for a person of his caliber and for the amount he's achieved as an outsider from an industry. Just, coming in, the kind of warmth, that affection he gives, terrific. And Venky Mysore is like, he oozes his knowledge. I'm sure you've met him. You know how he is. He's a terrific man with a lot of knowledge. And, of all the people that, in the last 12 years that I've ever been part of IPL, I think between an owner and a player, I think I have my strongest relationship with him.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about Venky Mysore. Every time you meet him, he's got that warmth, he's got that smile, which kind of puts everybody and everything around him at tremendous amount of ease. And therefore, talking about your captaincy, how are you enjoying your captaincy? Because you did take over from Gautam Gambhir, who had established a legacy, so to speak, as far as KKR is concerned. How has it been for you personally?
I think, I've said this before as well. I think it's one of the best things to have happened in my cricket career to be a captain of KKR. Mainly because I think it came at a time when I felt it was the right time. When I felt that I've led in various other places, and I believed I could be the leader that I was. The first year went great. The second year, I think when it came to results, probably not as good as we wanted because we couldn't qualify. But overall, the journey has been terrific. I think the boys have responded well to me, and I have a lot of warmth and affection for the boys, and it should translate, touchwood, into results soon. But more importantly, I think I have the respect of a lot of players, and I value that a lot.
What are the biggest challenges when you're managing a team like KKR, which has got multifaceted personalities, people from across the globe coming in and being a part of your side?
I think, obviously, one of the keys to it is honesty. I think that's what most players require. Sometimes you have to say the hard things, even though players don't like it, but you have to say it in a way that is as positive as possible. I think it's very easy to, harm people with words. I think you need to make sure that you don't hurt the person, but you get the message across in the nicest way possible. Sometimes it's taken well, sometimes it's not, and it's impossible to please everybody. Somewhere you have to be at peace with yourself, saying that's the best you could have done, and whatever is said is not about the person, but about that day, and that probably couldn't have played or not played or whatnot. So it's not. I think what I've learned as well is when you deal with different people from different countries, the cultures are different. The way the language spoken is different. When I say language, the way you say things also is different. For a normal Indian, how you would say it could be offensive for a West Indian, those kind of things. So, how you treat those people and how you understand those people. At the end of the day, we're all here to play a sport, and they know, when it comes from me or the coach, it's not meant personally to them. It's just for that day, and that's all matters. I think once you win that trust, it becomes a lot more easier.
Yeah, you spoke about people of different nationalities. You spoke about West Indies. I mean, last year, obviously we had Andre Russell coming out and saying what he did to the media. Did we read it completely different to what happened behind the scenes, or what exactly happened, or would you have dealt it differently as days have moved on when you look back at that particular event?
I think, to be fair, I think he's one of those guys who wears his heart on his sleeve. I'm sure he meant whatever he could have said. But again, when I said West Indian, they're kind of in-your-face kind of people. But whatever they say, they say it honestly, and it is on your face. It's up to you how you take it. If you want to take it offensively, then the mistake is in your part. if you want to take it constructively, which is how I looked at it. We had a conversation over it, men to men, we discussed with it. He wasn't happy. He wasn't not happy with me. He wasn't happy that the team was not winning. That is his, that is the bottom line. He wasn't happy that we were not winning. And then I had to tell him what I felt, saying, sometimes things could go wrong. And, whatever he said, I completely respected. And he also realized that, I think he got a taste of Indian media then as well, because easily what can be said and what comes out can be two different things, because the tone of what you say to what comes out can be very different when it comes in print. And he realized that, and, he was a little apologetic as well. But, at the end of the day, I have a great relationship with him, and that makes the difference. If I didn't have a great relationship with him, I think that could have spiraled into something nasty. But because I have the honest relationship where I can go straight up to him and be like, Russ, you know what? I don't think what you've said is right, because the way it has come out is not great. So what are we going to do? And he said, no, Skip, this is how, I felt about it, but not how it's come out. So there itself, half the battle is over, because what he said to what people are reading are two different things. But then he had an issue. He said, we can do this better, and I don't think you are doing this. Can we do it this way? And then I had to explain, saying, being a leader, I can't completely please you, but, we'll change things around, but not exactly like you want. We'll meet somewhere halfway. And then the conversation was hard and done, and that's it. I think as a leader, I think having different opinions and dealing with it is one of the most important things. I think you need to be able to stand up and have a conversation. Sometimes a hard conversation. It's just like, leadership is a lot like friendship as well. You try and keep taking it, but at a stage you need to sit down and have a conversation to, iron things out so that you can move forward.
Yeah, interesting that you said that, because I did listen to your conversation with Andre Russell and Sunil Narayan recently on social media, and I could sense the camaraderie that existed between every one of you. But in terms of leadership being challenging, because you've got so many talented individuals in your team, because there's one section which believes that is so-and-so which should open the batting, and there is one section which believes, no, he's better placed in the middle of the order. How difficult is it to devise your strategy? Because there's enormous amount of talent that is at your disposal. I know it's a smallish squad, but you've got tremendous amount of talent. So on one hand, you're looking at flexibility, Dinesh. On the other hand, you're also looking at giving people their best positions. How do you kind of manage that as a leader?
See, I think at the end of the day, there are going to be a lot of opinions. See, at the end of the day, we have a squad of 22. So when you have a squad of 22, 11 are playing, 11 are not playing. And each of those players would fit in a certain role. Okay. So now when 11 plays a game and we lose a game, there is maybe a number 5 didn't do well or a bowler didn't bowl well. So there is a replacement there ready and waiting. Now the two questions that I have is whether the guy outside should have played, or the guy who bowled at that over or batted at that position could have changed. Now when you win, these questions are always going to come up. When you lose, these questions are always going to come up. When you win, they're just kind of, you just move on. You don't think about it too much. So what I've realized is when you lose, obviously there'll be a lot of questions raised, but that's where support staff comes in. I think you need to have clarity before the game that this is what you're looking to do, and you inform the players of whatever slots they're in and the clarity given, and you need to try and stick to that. It's very hard to please everybody. Everybody has opinions, and obviously, we have so many people writing about the IPL, and that's the beauty of this game. Because there are so many opinions and there are so many people watching, that's what makes IPL what it is. And, we're all happy today and smiling because there are so many people watching. So the negative aspect to that is, as a leader, they're going to all have opinions and they're going to come out and say, you could have done this better, you could have done that better, which is fine. I think as a captain, what you need to believe in is you have your set of support staff, you discuss amongst them, and then you relay the message to the player and make sure the player is comfortable, and that's it. That's where it starts and that's where it ends. If you try to please anybody more than that, it's going to be a hard job.
How do you look at the youngsters? Because you've got plenty of youngsters, from the likes of Prasidh Krishna to others. You've got plenty that are a part of your ranks.
I think KKR has been one of those franchises which has invested and kept players playing for a long time. You take anybody for that matter. You take Gautam Gambhir, he's been part of the team for 7 years. You take Yusuf Pathan, he was there for a long time. You take Robin Uthappa, he's been there for 5-6 years, maybe 7. Manish Pandey played for a good 5 years or 6 years. Maybe 6 years. So Surya Kumar Yadav, all the guys who've been around, they've all been around for a good amount of time. There's been very few players who've been picked and sent away. Take a Piyush Chawla, he's been around for another good, I think, 8 years or more. Kuldeep Yadav from the time he started. So I think KKR is somebody who values the personnel they buy. They take time to buy a person, but when they buy, they trust them and they hold on to them. I think just like everything else in life, everybody will need to move on to, better things, or sometimes people stop playing, whatever, whatnot. But till the time, they've always take Jacques Kallis, he was there from after the first 3 years, he was there. Till the time he played cricket, he played for KKR, and that's it. So I think they have a great legacy with players. If you take KKR players, you can definitely say, you know what, this guy played for KKR. Not all franchises can boast of that. I think KKR can be very proud of the players that they've had over a period of time. There are many people you can associate as players to KKR. I think that's one of the things that they're really proud of. And I would like to, be one of those players. Now, answering your question, in this current team, I can see a lot of players doing that. The Shubman Gills, the Prasidh Krishnas, Nitish Ranas. There are so many. If you take Pat Cummins, he's just about 27. So, he has his time here. I, I haven't mentioned Russell and Narayan. From the time Narayan has started, he's been with this team. If you take Russell, you wouldn't associate him with any other team except KKR. So, they have that kind of bond, with all those players. So that comes to them naturally. And I'm sure in this team as well, there'll be many such players who would be playing for KKR for a long, long time, because they take time in investing on a player. They do their due diligence, but once they do invest, they hold on to most of their players for a long time.
Lovely. I mean, you beautifully orchestrated, or you kind of spoke about, rather, I should say, about what KKR means to you and you as a leader. On a very personal front, married to Dipika Pallikal, you're talking about two high-quality athletes. What's life like? I mean, husband and wife, high-quality athletes. Give us a sense of that life, Ray.
I think we're both sportsmen, and obviously she's a bigger achiever in the sense that she's a Padma Shri, and she's really obviously scaled the peaks in her sport. But when it comes to the house and the relationship, it's a normal husband and wife relationship. But interestingly, a lot of people ask us this, but we don't speak a lot of sport, I think, for some strange reason. But
so it's good in a way, right?
It's
good in a way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like it that way because I think I don't like to speak sport too much at home. I mean, I just feel it gets a little, because as it is, I'm very invested in cricket. So I end up speaking a lot of cricket, to sometimes to Abhishek, to anybody who my friends are all cricketers. So Abhinav Mukund, Malola, I was just going to mention these names. I end up speaking a lot of cricket to them. So I tend to, obviously, at least, with my wife, I don't want to speak any sport. So it's always been that way, just like any other couple is doing the usual things.
I mean, varied interests, both of you. I mean, what kind of things interest you as a person, as an individual? What's it like for Deepika?
Obviously the love of watching TV, movies, basically, I think that's something we have. Though, the genres are completely different. I like thriller. She likes a lot more romance and drama, those kind of movies, whereas I watch something very different. She loves cooking. She's, this lockdown is one thing that I've really understood about her, is that her passion for cooking is a different level. She seems to be a fabulous cook. Whereas I interestingly, I'm a lot more into cleaning. I have an OCD for cleaning, so I end up cleaning a lot of things. So, so we kind of share the burden a little bit, but we're blessed, and we have a house and everything is in good space, and we're really grateful for the things that we have.
Yeah, just a couple of things before we move on to a rapid fire section, so to speak. Dinesh Karthik, things that Dinesh Karthik would want to do before he eventually, I know it's some time away, but the boxes that he would want to tick before he eventually calls it a day.
Definitely win another IPL. I think that is one thing that I definitely want to do. I mean, that's the one thing that I can think of straight away. I would love to see India win another T20 World Cup. I would love to be part of a T20 World Cup that India can win. I think that's something that's really special. And that's about it. I'm very happy. I'm not somebody who's... I mean, I don't think there's a goal, what you're asking. What are the things that I would like to achieve? Those kind of things. For me, for some strange reason, I'm not a numbers man, in the sense that I don't even know one stat of mine in terms of, careers, runs, hundreds, whatever. It's something that, it's not that I've not made an effort to, know it. I have, but I just don't remember it. So I don't value these things so much. For me, when I look back at my cricket, the fondest memories are, the World Cup and, the England series that we won. Those kind of things where we won the Champions Trophy, the IPL that we won. So these kind of things, more important for me are the victories than the personal performances. It's been that way, I don't know, from under 16.
No, it's fantastic, because I mean, when you were talking about numbers, I remember your numbers a couple of years back when you were playing, obviously, the IPL with KKR. I think every time KKR chased, and you pretty much, I think over the first 5, 6 or 7 games, you were not out, and you actually led your team across the finish line. Is that the biggest, what should I say, improvement, so to speak? That role of a finisher, is this where you wanted to be as a professional, the role of a finisher?
Yes, I think definitely. I enjoy doing that because I think there's a lot of pressure at that point in the game, and for me to take it and cross the line is something that I'm really proud of, and I want to keep doing it as much as I can. That's something I keep working on a lot because I think I can keep getting better at it. There is so much space for me to improve in that, and that's something I'm really enjoying, and I've worked really hard at it. I must admit. A lot of the practice sessions we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's the right shots to play at what point of time, etc., etc.
Yeah, one final question before we move to rapid fire, Dinesh Karthik. How would you want your fans to remember you?
As a thorough team man and a great guy, I think those two words would be enough.
Awesome. This is called Real Quick with RK. Dinesh Karthik, if you're ready, I'll just give it a go. All right. ODIs, T20s, Tests. What's the format for DK?
T20s.
All right. What does DK do when he is not training or playing cricket?
Watching TV.
Favorite food item? Forget about the diet.
Sushi.
Oh, okay. Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, it's pretty much for everybody, I guess. Okay, let me go on to the next one. The best batting partner in a pressure situation?
Andre Russell.
Okay. The worst partner in a pressure situation?
Chris Gale. You won't run singles for me.
Okay. If Dinesh Karthik retires at this moment, what would he be most proud of? Quick.
Oh, it's a rapid fire. What would I be most proud of? Just the fact that I played the sport. I'm not able to. I mean, the World Cup 2007.
Oh, okay. Favorite actor?
Rajinikanth.
Oh, okay. The one lesser known skill Dinesh Karthik is proud to show off.
Vacuuming at home.
Oh, okay. You did mention that. You've got this thing to clean up things, right? Okay. The toughest bowler that you've ever faced.
Stephen Harmison.
Okay. What's your routine before going out to bat? Do you have a routine before going out to bat?
Yeah, I just run a bit, skip a bit, do a few push-ups just to keep my heart rate up a little bit.
Okay. Any routine post your match? Any superstitions?
No.
All right. Lovely. Thank you so much, Dinesh Karthik. It was just seriously wonderful having this conversation with you. And the rapid fire, well done on that as well. Thank you once again, Dinesh Karthik, for giving me company on the RK show. Lovely.